Hi, it's Laurie Morse, and I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you about the five elements. Like, what does the five elements have to do with anything? And the reason I want to just clear this up is because it has everything to do with who we are as human beings on planet Earth. So the five elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal or air. So in Chinese medicine, each of those five systems covers everything that goes on in the body, in the mind, in our emotional experience, our emotional landscape, and in our spiritual landscape. So it pretty much is the terrain with which we operate inside of or in and through as a human being. And the Creative Healing Kickstart gives in the last part of that book, it gives a little bit more. There's like lists for each element that gives an explanation of which organs are affected, which symptoms one might have, what emotions are most associated with that element, how abundance works and transformation works depending on which element that we're talking about. So the only reason I wanted to explain this is because sometimes people aren't sure what it has to do with anything. And in my thinking, I'm like, well, it has everything to do with everything, as I already said. So I just want to give a little bit more brief explanation about that. So, and also in that Creative Healing Kickstart, there in the very last pages are, just sort of simple coloring pages, one page for each element. And the reason I included these is because if you aren't sure, where to start in terms of doing a creative healing process. If you've heard me say anything at all, you are probably clear that, and you've heard me say it more than once, that doing a creative healing process with intention is transformational. So that's the first point. The next step one takes is, well, how do I want to do that? In what way do I want to have a creative healing process? Do I want to take the 4-week embodied abundance course and be guided through how to relieve myself of stories that aren't serving so that I can be filled with plenty and abundance? Abundance, by the way, is more to me more than money. It's everything that's good about life, everything that is our birthright, actually. Or am I working with an acupuncturist or another healing arts practitioner that is telling me that my liver needs support, or that my lungs, my respiratory system is weak, or my digestive system is weak? Those are all starting places that you could choose for your creative healing intention, right? Your creative healing process. So let me just recap and let you know how simple this is, in general. So the first thing you do is you set an intention, and you can create a ritual around that if you'd like. The second thing is that you do, and your intention is, let me just go back to the first thing. Your intention could be something like, I'm having problems with my digestion, and I would like to evolve through it. I would like to be one who doesn't have digestive problems. Or I am in so much fear around some change that's coming up, and I'm frozen. I don't know what to do with that fear. That's a perfectly valid intention. Your intention would be something like, more along the lines of, I would like to move through this change with grace. Show me how. And then you do your creative healing in order to kind of excavate the treasure that will show you the wisdom that lives inside of you, the knowing and the guidance for how to walk that path, for what choices to make for your digestive support, right? Like the thing to know about accessing the wisdom, intelligence, and knowledge that's in every human being is it will tell us, it will help us know which are the right decisions to make, which are the things to leave off to the side, at least for now, if not forever. Like Diet Coke, for example. And I'm going to say this because I used to be addicted to Diet Coke, so I can say this. That's one to leave off forever. I have been Diet Coke free now for probably 12 years. So, anyway, those are things that we know are really like toxic poisons to our system. That's something that we can leave off for good, but something to just leave off to the side temporarily. Maybe, well, in the digestive situation, it may be dairy. Maybe dairy is really upsetting your gut, and you just need to take a break from it, and then you can see if you can bring it back online. That's the thing I mean about off to the side forever or temporarily. So let's say that you have a respiratory problem. Now let's come back to the 5 elements, right? Oh, you know what? I didn't finish my 3 easy steps. I'm getting ahead of myself. So you choose your intention, and usually your intention is the thing that's kind of stuck in your craw right now. And I would recommend that you don't pick the biggest, baddest problem that you've had for decades, because if you're just starting out doing creative healing intentions or processes with intention, you want to sort of get a little rhythm with it. You want to start building some momentum before you will know. Your inner wisdom will say, okay, now let's do a creative healing process around that. That thing, that one thing. We all have at least one thing that's almost seems too big to get ourselves through. It's the thing that causes our greatest growth, and initially it seems impossible to climb over that hill or mountain, so to speak. But I promise you, it's climbable. And creative healing processes are incredible. What are those things, like cleats, but for mountain climbers? I don't know what they're called for mountain climbers. They help us grasp and get grip and get traction and get ourselves moving ahead. Even if we're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, we're still moving forward, right? So it's okay. That's actually the way a healing journey tends to go, is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And oftentimes what people will do when the 1 step back happens is they freeze and they get nervous and they're scared and they feel like they're never going to get where they want to go, and they feel like they'll always be in this hard place. And that's not true if you keep moving forward, if you keep doing processes, if you keep trusting yourself, trusting your inner wisdom, that as you keep walking, that you actually will get somewhere. Okay, so that's number 1. You set an intention, and in the creative Kickstart, there was a few ideas on doing small rituals, minor rituals around when you sit down to do a creative healing process with intention. Next, you play. You do your creating. And you try to do that without a lot of judgment and criticism. That's going to come up anyway, but it's a practice to just go, oh, there she is again, that little critical part of me. I'm going to just set you aside, sweetheart. We're playing right now. We're playing with color. We're playing with just a simple page. There's nothing fearful about this. I'm not going to die. That's the kind of talking I do off the ledge to my critical mind, my judgmental mind. All she wants to do is protect us. So we kind of have to just help her know that we're going to be okay. So, and then the third part is, after you're done doing your creative play, then you want to be very specific about asking the piece, the page that you just colored on, or the canvas you just painted, whatever it is. You're asking the piece for its wisdom and its insights. You're asking the piece to tell you what it knows that you don't know. Because what you may or may not know is that the page or the canvas or the paper or the whatever the substrate is you're working on is a portal to your higher intelligence. It's a portal to your spirit. It's a portal to accessing your creative life force, which knows what you need, right? So you're asking the page for its insights and for its wisdom. And of course, you're asking that in regard to your intention that you already set, right? There are very specific steps for this. That's why you want to go through. And what page was that on? I wanted to remind you that, you can go back to, I guess I didn't write that down. I thought it was on page 5 or 6 or something like that in the Kickstart ebook. That's a complimentary gift. If you don't have that yet, make sure you get that for yourself. You can email me if you want it, support@5elementcreativehealing.com, and I'm happy to send that to you. So, yeah. So anyway, so let's go through our pages here. So let's just say you were having some chronic respiratory, let's say you had a cough you couldn't get rid of. I treat people for this all the time. They had a cold back a few months ago, and their body just hasn't been able to resolve it, and they have this postnasal drip, and it's always bothering them and causing them to cough. Well, if something doesn't resolve itself in normal timing, it usually is a message from our intelligent part of our being, trying to get our attention because it wants us to consider transformation. That's more than just taking NyQuil to make the cough go away, right? So you would choose this page. This is the metal and air page. And the metal, the above, this is supposed to be blocks of gold. And then this is just air, right? So you would write your intent, as an example, you would write your intention, like you're writing yourself, you'd write your intention on the front, or you could write it up onto one side if you don't want to cover, the blocks. Or you could write yourself an entire letter on the back of the page, right? And then color, just color. You have your intention, it's seeping into your cells. Your intelligent system knows that you have an intention to understand what this is trying to tell you, what your respiratory system, what this element, this metal air element is trying to have you know. And then you can doodle, you can color, you don't have to focus intently on your intention necessarily, but it's been recorded on your page, and now you can color, you can play, you can enjoy. And I recommend, if you're doing it on a page, get yourself some colored pencils. Practice looking at all the colors and picking the pencil that lights up the most. Which color lights up right now the most? This one happened to for me. So if I were actually coloring on a page, I would pick this, and then I'd put it back, and I'd practice letting other colors light up, so you can, that's part of building your guidance and your connection to your creative life force. Because your creative life force will communicate with you. Your creative life force will communicate with you through color, through movies, through songs, through magazine pages, through something you overhear someone saying. It will just drop into your awareness in through a slit or a crack that your higher wisdom knows it can slide in through. You can also get yourself some pens. These are just some fine tip pens that you could use to color. And if you don't have any of that and you don't want to spend the money right now, just use a pencil, a pen, and a highlighter. And you can, if you have more than one color highlighters, that's fine. Just write some things down, circle, swirl, make hearts, whatever. Fill in, a circle or a square or a triangle with your highlighting colors. Just give it a little bit of dimension beyond just a pencil or a pen. Okay? And now let's say you have problems with your thyroid, or problems with insomnia, or that fear and anxiety piece we talked about. That would be under the water element, and you don't have to memorize all the stuff I'm saying to you on the video. All this is in the Kickstart in a list form, right? So you do the same thing with a page, the water page that we just went through on the metal page. And if your digestive system is really having, giving you fits, then that would be the earth element. And you would basically use this page to color on, and you would write yourself a love note. You might even draw a little bit of a rough copy of some vegetables and color those in if you feel like you want to increase your vegetable intake, as an example. And let's say you feel really stressed and anxious, and your heart has a little bit of a palpitations, and you don't have access, you don't feel like you have access to your creative life force. It's there, but it's kind of feels like it's far away, and you want to connect to it more, or you want to connect to spirit or your source better. You feel like that connection is a little bit weak. This is the page that you would do your intention and your coloring on, right? And let's say you have a hard time making decisions, or you eat a lot lot of sugar, or your practitioners told you your liver is struggling, or you have hormonal imbalance, or you don't methylate well. There's a lot of things that fall under the wood element. This system works really hard for us in a Western world. Well, it does in most people's life, but in the West, we really work this system hard. You would use this page, and you could color this page. So those are just some ideas. Those are like starting off places for you, kind of springboards for you, so that you can start understanding who you are as an elemental being. You will see trees and wood in nature. In fact, we are a tree of life as a human being. Now, if we haven't done this consciously, then for a lot of us, our trees are upside down, and one of the things that we can do in this element is turn our tree upside down and become the tree of life, become one who accesses not only deep roots into the core of Mother Earth, but accesses cosmic sun energy in order to create bounty, in order to fruit, in order to blossom, in order to, be a beautiful expression in nature, which I am madly in love with trees. So whenever I see a tree, I just feel like, oh, that's just such a beautiful expression of nature. And we are all that, actually. So there's water in nature. There is obviously earth in nature. There's air and the wind. One of my favorite ways to describe chi, or life force, is that it's the thing that blows and moves the natural world, but we don't necessarily see it. But we can't say it doesn't exist. And yet it has great impact. And when we breathe in air, we don't see the air we breathe in, but we do not deny the air that we breathe in, right? So that's kind of one way to think about air. And metal too, like there's crystals in the earth. And that crystalline structure is part of our bones. So that's where, and alchemy falls under this element too, because when we talk about turning base to gold, that's an old adage alchemy story. What it's really representing, what it really is having us know, what it really wants us to know the meaning of, is we're turning density into lightness. That's what we're supposed to be doing in our life, is when we bump up against something that is dense and causes us to feel stuck and is old and is not true, we're supposed to transform or transmute that. And that's called alchemy. And that's exactly what a creative healing process allows us to do. The substrate, the paper, the can, whatever, this is the place where alchemy happens. Well, it actually happens in your heart, but it's because we're doing it, we're engaging it in form on a substrate with intention, then it allows our energy to actually change, transform, transmute, and alchemize into energy that is of a higher frequency, is of a higher vibration, and serves us much better. So that is why I love the 5 elements. I hope you find yourself falling in love with them little by little, because you are them. We cannot be the same. We are extensions of nature. We have 75% water in our body. We have matter, right? Matter. When we talk about Mother Earth, matter is a word for mother. We are matter, right? We're biophoton in nature. Bio meaning, physical matter, and light. So I could go on and on about this subject, but I really just wanted to give you a little bit of oomph on the 5 elements. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will be talking again very soon, I'm sure, or at least connecting in virtual video world. Ciao for now.